and welcome to Quality of Life Radio, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
You couldn't ask for better introduction music for today's show. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Quality of Life show with your hosts, Nancy and Lisa. Yes, we're the mother-daughter team who travel full-time on our Love Your Parks tour. And today we're going to be talking about a park that we haven't visited, in a very different park, very spiritual park, a calm, serene, tranquil, beautiful destination on Whidbey Island, not in it, on Whidbey Island in Washington State. And we're very excited because we have travel writer Linda Kassam. You know her as the food, wine, and shopping diva. And she went to Earth Sanctuary, and this is the place we're going to be talking about. And her article is up right now. You can see it on blendradioandtv.com with a lot of other articles and interviews that she's done. And you'll see it in the August issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. So keep up with her at blendradioandtv.com and also PNWtourist.com, because that's her blog of what she's doing when she's out in the Pacific Northwest, and that's where she is today. Summertime she gets out of the heat of Arizona and goes up to the Pacific Northwest and floats in the British Columbia world of oceans. And where are you, Linda? I should just start there. Welcome back.
Oh, that's funny. Well, right now I am in Elliott Bay Marina in Seattle, waiting for Canada to open because of the coronavirus. They've shut it down. So I think our first trip would usually be right to Canada, the Broughtons and so forth. But I think our first trip, which is next week, I believe, will be more Olympia and sort of not the San Juans, but other Palfo, Olympia, that area down there. So I like that. I like sailing there. We don't sail, motoring there. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, I want to bring our special guest on to Chuck Pettis. Chuck was on our show about a year and a half ago talking about branding, and we did touch on Earth Sanctuary. Now he's the founder of Earth Sanctuary, and I encourage you to go to his website. It's earthsanctuary.org. So welcome, Chuck. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, It's good to have you back. I want to call you Earth Angel with the Earth Sanctuary. Going through Linda's article and then looking at her photos and videos and going through your website, I have to tell you that, we lead a very crazy lifestyle. Nancy and I, it's either go, write, publish. And then this morning, I'm just sitting there looking at your website and the photos, and I'm like, I am at instant calm. And yes. I know I've done some studies about nature and the effects of nature and stress reduction, and that even photos can help. So I want to thank you for having all these photos and websites accessible for all of us who need to calm down. I didn't realize just how effective that would be just today, just looking at your website. Pretty amazing. Yeah. So Diva Linda, you went out into the sanctuary and you did a private tour with Chuck. And I know that you love to find spiritual retreats because you're always busy shopping and wine tasting and being the diva, running the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association that Diva Linda is the president of. So going to a place like this, from your article, it seems like this just was amazing.
This was probably this is going to rank as probably one of the top 5 places I've been in the world. And I mean that.
Wow.
I've been to Stonehenge. I've been to many places. But to find something this beautiful, especially one that has a 500-year strategic plan. Part of my PR business a while back was to help people do strategic plans, and to get them to even do 1 to 2 years is it's like pulling teeth. Let alone one that has 500. So very, very impressed. This is a place that everybody has to go. It's easy to get to. It's well planned. You can. My suggestion is to take the first time you're there, because you'll go many times. But the first time you go there, take the tour with Chuck. It would be so much more meaningful. There's so much that he's done in this retreat. so many things that you need to ask. Why is this there? How did that get there? Especially the how did that get there? Because I think hopefully we'll talk about the dolmen and how we got that there, and where did the prayer wheels come from, and why did he allow somebody to come in and put the ashes of their father? I think it's mother and father, could be wrong. There. These are all the stupa. Oh my God, the stupa was beautiful, not overdone, but beautiful. And why do you walk around it? And you can ask all those questions of Chuck right then and there, and he can tell you how he started this. We'll need to have Chuck address most of this anyway, but my part here is just to tell you that it was a memorable experience, top 5. And I don't say that lightly because you know how I love my shopping and my gardens, and I've seen some beautiful gardens too. But this is something special, and this is something you can come back to, 100 times. And he's always doing something with it. He's adding on, he's fixing, he's sculpting. He's quite the Renaissance guy. And gosh, I hope we have time to talk about the gray whale medicine wheel and singing to the whale and all that. That was really, but you won't do that unless you go on a private tour first. It's not that much money, and it's worth every single dime. This place is worth, I think it's $7 to get in if you just want to go by yourself, and then you can look on the website to see what the current price for a tour is. But you can do this, and you probably don't have to wear a mask. You can just sort of wander around. It's really a beautiful, beautiful place to go. And those of us who have COVID, anxiety about staying home too much, this is a great place to go. You can just sort of be by yourself, and it'll be lovely.
I think the world needs places like this. We travel to parks, nonstop, and we cover every single type of park. So we definitely have this on our list from our conversation with Chuck last year, and then also, or a year and a half, I can't count, but also just looking at, what you've experienced, Diva Linda. Chuck, why don't we start with how, Earth Sanctuary, because you've got all of these spiritual sculptures and the gardens, and there's the birds and the wildlife and the, the nature experience too. But what led you to open and create Earth Sanctuary on Whidbey Island?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. I think the first one is environmental. I'm in my marketing business at Brand Solutions. I've done a lot of work with nonprofit environmental organizations to help them protect the environment for our current as well as future generations. So I've seen all the bad things happening around the world with the environment. So Earth Sanctuary, 72 acres, gave me a chance to not worry about things I have no control over and try and do an exemplary ecological restoration project and to make the world a better place in my own small way. So that was the first reason. The second reason is that I really love sacred spaces. I visited many stone circles and all kinds of sacred spaces around the world. I've written a book called Secrets of Sacred Space, and so Earth Sanctuary is my sculpture garden.
Nice. And so do you create the sculptures, or are you bringing artists in to create them for you?
Most of the sculptures have come from my idea and my plan. Things like the stone circles and the dolmen, I can't do by myself, so I bring in experts to help lift up the big stones and install them. And so I believe in working with experts and getting the best help I can, and to do an excellent job that can be done, because I can't do it all myself.
What I think is amazing is you've created this harmony of coexistence between nature and humans, and I feel like the spiritual part is the conduit, the peace and tranquility, and the intention, just from what I've read and looked at. And reading, it's 72 acres. There's self-guided, walking tours, but best probably to do a guided one first. But you've got, all these wildlife ponds. But I think what's really mind-blowing to me is 15,000 plants from 80 species. This is all in Diva Linda's article. 3,250 trees with more than 30 species. I mean, that's pretty you've got some clean air going on.
We're doing the best we can for global warming, that's for sure, in our own small way. But everybody can plant more trees, and it's good to have a diversity of trees because the climate is changing, and we certainly experience that up here with drier and hotter summers, and so we've been experimenting using more non-native trees, particularly because if the trees aren't drought resistant enough, then they have a hard time making it up here. So things like sequoias and redwoods are doing really well here.
Wow. That's interesting.
Wow, sequoias. Yeah, they are redwood, yeah. And then the native plants, like you've got these wildlife ponds, so you're also looking at, aquatic plants.
No, we haven't done anything with the ponds per se. They are well stocked with lots of different plants. The fen, the peatland itself actually has 90 species of plants that are not found in anywhere else other than a bog or a peatland. So there's a wonderful diversity of plants up here that are already here, and then on the land we've been planting as much of a diversity of native plants that we can to create the best habitat for birds and insects and fungi and all the wildlife.
Oh, wow, this is cool. So a lot of people probably want to come and look just to get ideas for what they can do at home, because if people replicate what you're doing, that's kind of how I look at it. We do these a lot of shows on native plants, and worked with the National Wildlife Federation quite a bit. David Mizejewski's been on, and he really one day on a show opened my mind into a whole other way of thinking about it, was about native plants and planting for wildlife. And, they have a certified wildlife garden program and everything, which is really great. But he was saying, every single place, if everybody started planting native plants or not taking them out, let's just start even with that, life would come back. And by taking the native plants away and only having them in, certain gardens or a botanical garden or in a park, the in-between space without the native plants are dead zones, just like what has happened to our oceans, having, the harmful algal blooms and, from the oil spills and everything that's happening with climate change, that, we've got these dead zones in the ocean, which affects our food supply, right? So it's the same thing we're doing on land by not planting native plants. So we could be counteractive, and that's what I think. I just think it's very cool, because people could come out to Earth Sanctuary, look at what you're doing, and create a sense of calm in their own environment. Even if you live in an apartment, you can do balcony gardens or even indoor gardens, and try and grow what you can that's native. So I think you're a great source for people to learn from and inspire them to do the native plant side of things.
Yeah, we've planted lots of native plants, particularly around the sacred spaces at Earth Sanctuary. That's where we kind of group them together. And we've also had the University of Washington Restoration Ecology Network classes up 6 or 7 times they come up and review a site and see what non-native plants there and do a plan, and then we approve it, and then they plant the new native plants. And so it's been a really nice partnership with the UW to restore this property with native plants as best we can, as well as the trees.
Oh, I love this. Diva, did you get in the bog? I just wanted to see Diva in the bog.
I would have loved to get in the bog. It's just, I think I saw 3, and there may be more. I didn't have enough time to go to everything, but just to see it. I think I got 2 good pictures of it, and I think I sent them both to you. So hopefully people can get a general idea. But, pictures are one thing, experiencing is the other. I'm wondering if we could jump to having Chuck talk about the gray whale medicine wheel. Chuck, can you, as you explained it to me, but maybe try to shorten it a little bit about how that space came to be created, why it's where it is, and how it came to be?
Sure. So since the beginning of Earth Sanctuary in 2000, there's been a Native American named Cloosh. He's from the Nuchana tribe of Vancouver Island. And he started appearing and then getting involved with what we're doing. He asked that there be a Native American prayer stone by the middle pond, which we installed. And then he directed and helped design and then blessed and consecrated the medicine wheel above the cottonwood stone circle. And then after he did that, he wanted to do another medicine wheel that is based on a baby gray whale skull that he prayed for, and that we've installed on a little hill above the retreat center. And it seems to be a very old, it's also very heavy baby gray whale skull. He did a beautiful ceremony there to consecrate and bless the space. He buried an eagle there. The gray whale is their spirit animal of his tribe up on Vancouver Island, so he has a really close connection with that whale. And in addition, he set it up to be a beacon of sorts. So he asked that when people come to the baby gray whale medicine wheel, that they think of their favorite song, sing it silently to themselves, and then it's set up to be like a beacon or a mixtape, if you will, for the whales coming up the east side of Whidbey Island to hear everybody's songs, which I just I love that concept.
Wow.
And we love singing our songs to the whales.
Is that not wonderful?
Mm. No, that makes me teary-eyed.
Yes.
I know.
Yes. Now, I sang Girl from Ipanema to him silently. I'm not sure what he can do with that, but that's what came to me, and that's what I did.
Oh, I like it. She's back in the bossa novas again, in the samba
Yeah,
land.
there she goes.
I know.
Consistent.
Yeah, I could hear that. I can hear that for sure. Well, I think this is very interesting about the whales too, because we talk about whales all the time because of how they communicate, the sonar part of what they do, and how they know where to migrate. And so I think when they also know there's sacred spaces like what you've created too, and just having that connection is so special because they're in trouble. Our whales are in so much trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And so even just creating that awareness is so important, to do that. But yeah, do you get to see whales all the time?
Well, we live on the west side of Whidbey Island, and they very rarely come to the west side. They come up the east side of Whidbey Island because I think they like the sand shrimp that are on that side of the island. And from Langley, which is on the east side of Whidbey Island, they have kayaks and whale tours and things like that, so people can get out and get close to them.
Yeah. Now, I do want to just on completely side topic here. There is a documentary coming out, because you're talking about singing with whales, that's why I'm bringing this up. It's called Singing, excuse me, I'm not going to spit, Amara. She is a vocalist, and an incredible vocalist. And she went and created a documentary with Denisa Chan, a filmmaker, who we've interviewed a few times, that was in Dry Tortugas for a month. And anyway, they went out all over the world filming whales. And she's a vocalist, so she sang to the whales and got to sing with them. And they filmed this whole thing really to create awareness of whales. And she actually sang in harmony. There's footage of her singing in harmony with the whales together and understanding each other, even baby whales. Is that not a trip? Like, it just shows.
Cool.
I know. It's coming out. They're working on it now. And unfortunately, she went off diving and never came back.
Oh.
And just disappeared with the whales. No joke. It's yeah. So it's they're still making the film and everything, but it's all about singing with the whales and for the whales. So Chuck, I'm gonna have to send you all that, because it's connected with what you're doing. I wonder if even part of that's amazing to me about what you're doing and what they've done, and how that is all connected. Wow.
It's quite wonderful. Quite wonderful.
Yeah. So sorry about the side note.
No, that's right. Chuck, can you tell us about the prayer wheel that I got to spin and put, how that came to be, and how you have paper and pen there so that you can put an intention in it, and then you can spin the wheel? Why do you spin the wheel, and how did that piece of pottery come there?
So that came from a woman who wanted to do a memorial for her brother. And she was aware of an artist who lives up in the San Juans who does prayer wheels from pottery. So she wanted that memorial for her brother to be at Earth Sanctuary. So she connected with me. We had some conversations, met with the artist, and it's called an Axis of Hope prayer wheel. And so they came down and installed it. It's about, I would say, 2 feet tall and maybe a foot in diameter. It's empty. It's got a little top on it. Beside it, there's a wooden stand that has paper pads in it and pens. And people can write a prayer on the paper and then put it inside the prayer wheel, and then they can spin it as a blessing and for their loved one or to amplify their prayer. And it's very beautiful. It's just about filled up now. And it's amazing how many people write their notes and prayers and put them in that prayer wheel sculpture.
So what happens after with everybody's in there? Do you have to empty them out and do something with them?
I am going to empty it out. I was going to do it on the summer solstice, but I got waylaid with other projects. But one of these days I'll go in, I'll get them, and then I'll burn them up.
Oh, you burn them so they're that release. Well, it's like the burning ceremony.
I've got a little special kind of wood-burning furnace, if you will, that's we use in Tibetan Buddhist ceremonies to burn flags and burn things that need to be taken care of properly. So I'll probably do it with prayer flags and other things like that.
Oh, wow. Cool. What are the Tibet Tech prayer wheels? I mean, am I even pronouncing that? Because my mind goes, is this for everybody that's technical? I'm just like, what is Silicon Valley? What was it?
Yeah.
Tibet, is it Tesh or Tech?
Yeah, TibetTech.com, if you will, Tibet Tech Prayer Wheels. This came about many years ago. I met with my teachers, His Holiness Jigdal Dakshin Sakya and Her Eminence Dhammakusha Sakya, and I told them what practices I was doing and asked them what I should do, and they said you should do prayer wheel. So they gave me a hand prayer wheel and an electric prayer wheel, and I put the electric one on my altar and started doing the hand prayer wheel when I did my practices. My wife does a practice called Vipassana, and she's noticed that the room changed when we had the prayer wheels in a positive, uplifting way. So I came up with the idea of maybe instead of traditionally prayer wheels have rolled up paper inside them with prayers, and I came up with the idea of being kind of a techie guy maybe we could put the prayers on DVDs. So I went to His Holiness Jigdal Dakshin Sakya, and I told him my idea for doing prayer wheels with DVDs, and his response was, good, modern prayer wheel. So I developed a line of handheld prayer wheels, electric prayer wheels, battery prayer wheels, solar prayer wheels.
Wow.
With different kinds of Buddhas on them, like medicine Buddha, etc. And so this is just a very small kind of home-based spiritual service business that I've had for about 10 years. And I don't know, we ship about a prayer wheel a day. So doing my bit.
Cool.
What the prayer wheels do is they send prayers of happiness and relief of suffering to all beings when you spin them with an intention of may all beings be happy, may all beings be free of suffering. So this is part of my plan to try and do as much good as I can while I'm still alive and able to do things.
So does that kind of go with the fact that I can look at your website and calm down, like immediately, and have a centered feeling? Like you feel, even though I'm looking on a computer, that I'm in a sacred space. It already has that effect on me, and then it transfers out. So kind of like what I was saying about getting rid of the dead space, or dead spaces that we have by growing the native plants that were counterproductive, counteracting that. So it's kind of the same thing with prayer wheels and sending prayers out, that we're putting the positive energy. We're changing the energy molecules, and in that same way, whether it's done by looking by being, by doing, that we're making a shift, even in all these different ways that we never thought of maybe 200-300 years ago.
Well, that was beautifully stated. That's
thank
to
you.
me really the purpose of our life. Ideally, should be to help others out as much as we can, to help make them happy, help provide peace, healing, and to avoid harming people through word, thought, or deed. So, it's all about trying to lead a spiritual life.
This is nice.
Well,
Diva Linda, did you sleep really good that night? I bet you did.
It was just, when you read my article, you'll see it was just one wonderful experience after another that stays with you. And it's still, even today, and I think I did this maybe 2 weeks ago or so, even when I think about it, just like you said, it's a very calming thing, and it calls me back, which I think is very interesting. It's just one of those wonderful feelings. I didn't get it from Stonehenge, which I was hoping to, but then they had roped off Stonehenge. I think Chuck had to go inside Stonehenge before they roped it off, but they've roped it off now. So, you have to do it from, I don't know, that just sort of turned me off. But Chuck, on the Stupa, how hard was that to do? Did you have to involve a lot of people to do the Stupa, or you can just do that yourself? Because that's quite a magnificent monument, shrine sort of thing, and it has so many parts to it, the building of it and how we put things in it and then what you do. So can you sort of, kind of condense what you told me about how it got there and what it's for?
Sure. Well, the Stupa, S-T-U-P-A, is the most holy Buddhist monument. And I think must have been about 2012, I wanted to build a stupa for my teacher, His Holiness Jigdal Doctrine Sakya. So I asked him, he said that would be wonderful, and he told me what kind of stupa to build. And then we started doing it. We started with a prayer for all the beings and little animals and insects that might be harmed while we were actually building the stupa. And actually there were over time 7 different Tibetan Buddhist ceremonies and blessing and consecration ceremonies done there. There are not many stupas built, and so I got our architect, Matthew Sweat of Taproot, to put together a 3D design and drawing so the fellows doing all the concrete could build the right forms. It's a fairly complex form, so it had to be done carefully in stages. The stupa itself is a symbol of enlightenment, of achieving full human potential. Looked at from above, it's a mandala or a model of the orderly, spiritual, holistic universe. It has 3 chambers that are filled with holy, special objects, sacred things, valuable things, wealth vases, flowers, a big long list of sacred spiritual objects of all kinds and descriptions. And it was a real special project. It's a very powerful sacred space. Stupas are designed for people to walk around it clockwise. It's called a circumambulation. And when you walk around it, you do that with a prayer and intention of wishing that everyone be happy, everyone be free of suffering, or you think of someone you know who needs some happiness and relief of suffering and healing, and the stupa then amplifies your prayer and intention for the benefit of either all beings or the person or people that you're praying for. So it amplifies your prayers in a special and remarkable way. It also provides a benefit. This particular stupa, the Victory Stupa, helps extend your life. So it's very good if you want to live a little bit longer or if you want to help with any ailments you may be having.
Very neat. I love it. I like all
that.
the daffodils
Yeah.
around it. I love that.
And you get to walk around it. And see, I think maybe what I would like to showcase is that this is not, you don't just walk and look at stuff. You walk and you do. You're part of the experience. We'll talk about the Dolmen, I hope, next. And every single thing that you do, the labyrinth, the stupa, the prayer wheels, the whatever, there's see, touch, smell. You look at the ponds. There's now you can't go in the ponds, of course, but everything else you're touching, you're seeing, you're feeling, so it's not just like a passive thing that you do here. And I hope that when people go, that they will do the things that are suggested. You know, write your intentions, put it in the prayer wheel, and spin. The next on my mind is the Dolmen. The Dolmen has a really interesting story of how we got it there, and so Chuck, if you can sort of describe what it looks like first of all, and then how it came to be, and then I'll just say that once he explained it to me and so forth, even in the Dolmen, you can go inside, and Chuck said, let's do a 1-minute meditation, and that was unbelievably wonderful to do that. I mean, it's doing. You're part of the sacred space. It's really it's quite touching. So on the Dolmen, if you can sort of, once again, just sort of condense what you told me, but and tell people what they can do when they get there and be in it and so forth, be a part of it.
Sure. So the Dolmen is very near the parking lot at Newman Road, and as you walk up to it, there is a special Tibet Tech prayer wheel that you can spin, and then you walk up some steps to the Dolmen. The Dolmen is kind of like a big stone table or a chamber, if you will. This particular Dolmen it's a megalithic large stone structure. It's made of hard Montana sandstone. It's modeled after a dolmen that I saw and really liked in Carnac, France. The stones came from a place called Marinacos that's a stone department store east of Seattle. And I bought the stones, and then I made little clay models of them to make sure how they're going to fit together. And then myself and 2 sons, and then a fellow named Albert Gabeline, who's basically brought in all the stones at Earth Sanctuary, and his son, we put it in a weekend, and it was a marvelous, wonderful experience. It is basically kind of, think of it as an open-air cave, if you will, and when you get there, you can walk inside. It's over what's called a ley line power center, which is an earth energy that holds strong emotions. And what Linda said is actually really important, because the sacred spaces at Earth Sanctuary hold people's emotions and feelings and prayers. So when someone, for example, goes into the Dolmen and has a good meditation or a prayer or leaves an offering, it's that feeling, that spirit, some of that stays in that space. So if someone comes afterwards and has a sympathetic connection with that previous person, then it helps uplift them and maybe to get into realization that they might not have gotten otherwise. So this is a way for everyone, because they leave their energy, but they're doing it with a sense of altruism to help everyone and to help all beings and help the world be a better place. So that's what it's really all about. And Linda is totally a gifted, spiritual, intuitive person, and she just picks up on everything like right away. So I think you ought to do the tour with Linda.
Oh, I dig that.
I would love
the spiritual diva.
Were these the stones that you asked them if they would mind being placed there? Did I get that part right when you were picking this?
All the stones at Earth Sanctuary were asked if they should be at Earth Sanctuary. And this is part of realizing the connectedness of all nature, and wanting to make sure everything goes in the right place and the right way. And it's done in cooperation with the spiritual hierarchy, the devas, the nature spirits, the Buddhas, the bodhisattvas, the local deities. It's, there's a whole spiritual hierarchy that is at Earth Sanctuary and indeed everywhere. But at Earth Sanctuary, we build in cooperation not only with the natural world, but with the spiritual world as much as we can.
I think that's so important because, I think there's so much unexplained connectivity between the humans and we're part of the natural world, right? In the spiritual world, and the natural world, I believe, has a spiritual world, and it's often overlooked. And when you go into places like this, and you get into a calm and a meditative, positive space, nature tends to connect with you even further. It's like, I always, Mother Nature to me is my spirit, she's my everything. And when you're, Nancy, you got to do the tree exercise, right? You got to talk about that for sure.
Yeah.
But when you're there in that place, it's kind of why Nancy and I do our tour. That the selfish side for us is that when you're out in nature and you calm, you're connecting, all the animals start to connect with you. The plants, and you just have to be perceptive and be open and not loud, and you know what I mean, just kind of in that space, get to that zone. And I think human beings are in dire need of these sacred spaces. They really are. And where nature and you're coexisting every step. I like that part of the doing, because it's putting you every step into whether it's a prayer wheel or writing something, or like walking the labyrinths, which labyrinths are neat. There's intention, right? Everything you do. So then nature that's right there is going, I see your intention. Now I'll give you like one more positive frequency. Like I'll give you like a little star each time. We're going to get closer every time your intention is getting, you know what I mean? Does that, I know it sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't.
Nature connects with you when you do it, when you make that step and you do it in the right way and allow it. But Chuck, so do we have to call Diva Linda Deva now? She gets a new Deva Linda.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Love it.
Yeah, I would like that. I really connected with this place. There's just, there's so much. And I had a real calling. One of the last places that we visited, it's down by one of the lakes or bogs, whatever we want to call them. And there's a story here, but Chuck, it's the stone by the lake, and inside the stone, are there ashes? Somebody's parents in there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Tell us the story of that, and then I'll tell you what my reaction was to it, because I think as much as I loved my gray whale medicine experience, this last one was really quite phenomenal for me. But go ahead and tell them what I'm describing.
Okay. Well, for the past couple of years, there have been people coming to Earth Sanctuary wanting to do a memorial of some kind for a loved one. And in this case, there were three brothers who contacted the Whidbey Island Communal Land Trust, and one of the brothers was a sculptor, and he sculpted a beautiful granite sculpture. It's incredibly beautiful, and the Land Trust recommended Earth Sanctuary, so they connected with me. We met with them. I met with them, and we found a good place. And they got a big boom truck to bring this gigantic sculpture and logs for it to roll it into place. And it is a memorial to their parents. And the sculptor actually drilled a hole underneath this sculpture and put their parents' ashes into that stone. And so it's it's beautiful in and of itself, but it's also special to the brothers. And it's because of things like that I created the Earth Sanctuary Memorial Tree Program, so that people can find a tree that they love and connect with, and I make a little marker, and so they have a memorial tree to honor a loved one, or even themselves. I've had several women who have picked out a tree just for themselves, and so that they know there's a tree that when they do pass, they can have their ashes there if they can. So this is what's happened over the years as Earth Sanctuary has gotten, I think, special to people, and they want to. It's a place they have a peaceful spiritual connection, and they feel safe and spirit-filled. So that's what this sculpture was all about, and it was. They were wonderful guys, and it was a fun day when we put it in.
Isn't that something?
Nice.
So when we were down there, because you have to sort of know where to go to find this, I think. But just the placement of the stone of sculpture is it's just so beautiful. And then as we're talking about it and hearing the story and there is a panoramic view. I don't know if you are able to. I sent that to you. I don't know, Lisa, if you're actually able to use it, but there's a panoramic view of it. And the wind came up and whistled through the trees. I mean, it was just, almost eerie. I mean, it was just so wonderful. The wind came up. I don't think we had the wind before. I don't remember it. And it was whistling through the trees, and it was coming up off the lake. And, I don't know, it just, somebody had done this wonderful thing for their parents in this wonderful place. It was just really special. I don't know. I think that really spoke to me as well. Everything spoke to me, everything. But that was with the whistling of the wind and, oh, gosh, what a thing. How do you know to place it there, and how do you know that it's going to be just the right place, and how does all that happen? That's just magical. It's just spiritual.
I had a friend who has done something very, very similar with trees, and it was for the redwoods. And it's part of how some of the redwood sanctuaries are saving the redwoods is by this is going to be my memorial tree. And for her, going through what she's going through medically right now, it gave her this sense of moving forward, actually, when you wouldn't think so, but it totally put her at ease to focus on healing more than not knowing what's going to happen to you, and knowing that she's going to a beautiful space gave her this, she just was like, I'm so happy now. Now I can
calm now.
Now I'm and so she knows where she's going, and that's a beauty. I think it's where she's going on the next step, or maybe we dance. I don't know what happens with us, but she does that. But I wanted Nancy to tell everyone about the tree exercise. Diva Linda, has Nancy given you the tree exercise yet? But you need to do it.
So. We'll see if this is the one.
Okay.
Or I'm
so
thinking of something else.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we may have actually brought this up last time, but the tree exercise is a thing.
Okay, so this is an African tradition. You pick out a tree that you admire, and you get down on your hands and knees. The idea of getting down on your hands and knees is to be humble. Put your right hand on the trunk of the tree, close your eyes, and you stay that way until you can hear your heartbeat. And then you can get past your own heartbeat, and you can hear the heartbeat of the tree. And then it syncs together. And then you feel that connection. And so it takes a while, and it does take practice. But it's a very calming, connective. It reminds you that we are part of nature, and we need to not break that connection. So that's kind of what the exercise is about.
That's
and it's very
beautiful.
It's it's well worth doing and doing often. And especially when you get to pick out different trees.
Yeah.
But don't do it in the sequoia forest because people look at you like you're really weird.
No, you can do whatever you want, but I think that's the kind of place if you go to Earth Sanctuary. I mean, Chuck, are we allowed to do the tree exercise at Earth Sanctuary?
Please. Good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I heard that one. No, I think I heard the one about the hugging of the tree and holding for X amount of minutes and so forth. But this is quite lovely. This is quite humble. I really, this goes
nice.
well. Yes, it goes well with what we're talking about. Just, I don't know. I'm just so impressed with the fact that Chuck as he's creating this, he's not just creating it on a solo venture. You know, he brings other people into it, makes sure that the right people are there to bless or to say okay. Or I know he's worked on projects that have taken him a very long time because you know, there's customs and all sorts of things that need to be done, and the right people need to be there, and so forth. And he's patient. You know, he's patient. What's the longest project you've worked on in the sanctuary, Chuck? How long? I think I heard 20 years. I could be wrong on that one. But what's your longest project that you've worked on and successfully made happen?
Well, probably. Well, I would say the trees is the longest project because we've been planting trees ever since the beginning, and they're still planting a lot more trees. The Cottonwood Stone Circle was done in 2 phases, so that was probably 6 or 7 years. And actually the Earth Sanctuary itself is the project. You know, it just grows, and it's been growing very naturally, and it's very, very gratifying to meet the people who come there and hear their stories and watch how they come from the city and become peaceful and calm and happy. And that's really, it's about transforming people's consciousness in an uplifting, spirit-filled, kind, compassionate way. So I would say it's the overall project, that's the overall plan, the overall experience, as Linda put it earlier.
Now, you can do retreats there. I want people to know that. Is that correct? You have a small retreat. How many people can come in post-COVID?
Yes. So there is a small house on the corner of the property. It's a retreat center. It's been used for spiritual retreats for the past 20 years. Has 2 bedrooms, big sitting, living room, meditation room, kitchen, eating area, bathroom, etc. Whoever rents it gets the whole house. It is a really special spiritual house. There have been many beautiful prayers and meditations and ceremonies done there. We had a woman do a 2-month retreat recently. We're probably around 70% occupancy. So I love providing a place that enables people to come and do a spiritual retreat of their choosing, to renew, to uplift, to do practice. And of course, their beautiful spiritual energy builds the spiritual energy of the entire Earth Sanctuary property.
Looks like a
you
good
want to
place
stay
to paint.
there.
Oh,
I want to stay there. Artist retreat. Ooh. Just a retreat in general. I mean, it just sounds wonderful to me. I don't know. The whole thing is wonderful. I liked it.
On Golden Pond, Nancy. There you go. You can go write and do. I think it would be awesome for someone to go and write, you know, if they're writing like a meditation book or something like that, to be able to be in that zone. Like if you're writing a yoga book or, you know, we just interviewed a lady, she's one of the top yoga teachers in the world, and she did a book at National Geographic on yoga for kids, but it's all about teaching kids animals so that they, you know, go according to the shapes of the, you know, like positions that animals make. It can be a flamingo or, you know, and things like that. And I think, you know, that's kind of the other cool thing is like this natural setting is like we learn how to do those kind of poses. I think yoga comes from cats, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Cat
you know,
yoga.
So when you're in places like that, you can kind of start looking at like, why is a bird sitting with one leg? The birds do yoga all the time, and we just don't recognize it, you know. But when you're in a place like that and you have the time to just really, the retreat thing, it could be like a whole residency almost for people, you know. So Chuck, it's beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to thank you both for joining us, and I'm totally calm now. I don't want to go back to work. I want to go sit outside under the tree, with the tree exercise, you know. But hey, listen, we are related to trees. We do have shared DNA with trees. So, you know, eventually we'll probably find out we're all connected DNA-wise, right? you know.
Absolutely.
But before you go,
that.
Chuck, I have a really weird question. Because people do think I'm weird about this, but I did some hiking out in the Anza-Borrego Desert, and as a kid growing up in different countries and pretty much in the bush and non-cityfied for my formative years, and I went hiking, and I had this epiphany, and I had this meditational thing that I was doing. I was really studying Ayurveda and Buddhism and doing all of this meditation, and I was out, and I started seeing this connection between the East and the West, specifically through the native cultures and how unified they are. So it's very interesting to me at Earth Sanctuary that you have Eastern and you have Native American from the West, the Americas connected there with prayer wheels. And so I wanted to ask if there's similarities in that. And then the other part was, through those meditations I was doing, I started to really believe that, like, I would connect with rocks. I know people, use crystals and different things, but there was just this very strong energy of rocks in that, like, I felt like if I hung out and, like, really held my palms to the rocks, kind of like what Nancy's talking about with trees. I'm really not weird, everyone. But if I did that, like, I would see the stories from the past. Like, it's almost like spirits left their stories in the rocks. I don't know how to explain it other than it's like, don't drop acid, go hold a rock.
But there's a lot of cultures that believe when you connect to a rock or a tree or an animal or whatever, if you can put your hand on it and really relax and meditate on it, that you will absorb the history of the object that you're with. If you can open your mind enough to do it. And a lot of people say, oh, well, that's your imagination. Well, you can argue about, well, it's, your imagination, or you just receive messages of the history of the thing that because when you're still and calm and you're focused and thinking about this one object and nothing else, you are honoring that object. So they impart knowledge to you.
I like that. Ooh, what do you think about that, Chuck? Ooh,
I know.
Well, I think of stones as spiritual antennas.
Yeah. Okay.
And at Earth Sanctuary, underneath all the sacred spaces that have stones, we put crystals or minerals that are the opposite or complement of the above ground stone. And that creates the juxtaposition of opposites, which in symbol language evokes spiritual experience and realization and going beyond enlightenment type experiences to facilitate people's spiritual growth. So that's really, the stones and the crystals are very important. Linda mentioned the dolmen. Underneath the dolmen is marble. Underneath the cottonwood stone circle, which is made of Columbia River basalt columns that are very yang, underneath those stones are turtleback stones, which are the yinnest stone on the planet. So every space has different stones and crystals that connect together in harmony to create a synergistic field to help people have a realization or a spiritual sense or even a conversation that they might not otherwise have. That's the magic of sanctuary.
Wow. Yeah, you put me back, like you've taken me back to my meditations. Like just, I don't know, I'm tripping out that way. Just ought to say, it's like kind of, it's cool, man. But now no, I mean it. Like, you just kind of go back to, there's like a comfort zone. Like, it's like, you can hypnotize yourself and, you have a certain sound and it'll bring you back. It's meditation to me is all the same. It's all connected, but different, but connected. The East and West that I was talking about, is there like a yin and yang with that, or how does that work on the sanctuary? Yeah.
Sure. East and West opposites come together to create one. In almost all the sacred spaces have a defined north, south, east, west axis. And there is a lot of symbol language that's built into all the sacred spaces that is unseen but present spiritually with power to evoke and induce spiritual, prayerful experience. That's my plan anyway.
Wow.
Awesome.
Man,
Pretty
you
good plan.
developing this and planning this and creating it's got to be really cool to create because it's co-creation. This is like the epitome of co-creation, right?
Exactly. Well stated.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. This is very cool. Well done, Dave Linda.
Yeah.
Very good. She emailed me the day she got back. She was like, it exceeded expectations, like beyond.
Yes.
Like she goes, oh my gosh, it's like this is a must. So really glad to hear it. Glad to have you back on the show, Chuck. Thank you, Diva Linda. Everyone, again, you can read Linda's articles up on blendradioandtv.com. You'll see in our expert department that links out to her articles there, and also in our national park site, nationalparktraveling.com, which is also our park and travel magazine. And you can follow her adventures as she floats around British Columbia. Just go to pnwtourist.com. And keep up with Chuck and Earth Sanctuary. Go to earthsanctuary.org. And we want to close the segment with a song by Michael and Spider. And you can go on Bandcamp, type in michaelandspider.bandcamp.com. And this is off of their album Deities Revisited. And it's one of my favorite songs that they've written and created. It's called Lotus Blossom. So this is definitely for you, Dave and Linda. So here's for Chuck. Here it is.
I love it.
Lotus Blossom. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Take care.
Wonderful.
Thank you.